Hey everybody, Resident Loser Jeremy here. As you can see, I'm pretty deep into the construction process here at the studio after the water damage, and there are videos coming about that, trust me, but I had such an interesting email, I need to share this with you. So as I've said before, there are a ton of careers in the audio field that a lot of people just don't think of, and a lot of things you can get hired for as an audio engineer that have nothing to do with music. I arrived to the studio today with an interesting request. So audio forensics is a field that an audio engineer can get into to kind of aid in fleshing out what may be hidden in any kind of audio file, be that metadata, the actual audio itself, or any number of things to help kind of come to an answer of whatever's in question. I had one of those requests today. Normally that's for like court cases or something where you're hired by one party or the other to kind of shed light on something. It is never your job to come to a conclusion. Your job is to reduce the number of distractions, pull information from metadata, which is impressed on almost any file ever, to come to some kind of clarity with what you're looking at. Here's the other angle. This live room is going to be massive. Can't wait. But the request here was particularly interesting. This had nothing to do with a court case, and I had to decipher what was going on in this for the client, essentially. So I was kind of playing the role of almost like an investigator for hire in the audio world, with no law background. It got pretty convoluted. Suffice it to say, I'm not going to tell the names, I'm not going to tell the situation. This is as private gets, but it's an interesting situation in which I can tell you there are careers in the audio field that you may not expect. And a lot of the tools that we use in those fields are tools that you may already have and skill sets that you may already employ for what you do that can get you into a different market. So in this particular instance, the file in question really had nothing to do with the metadata. It was about the file itself, what was present on the file. There was a recording device placed in some furniture, and I had to decipher how many voices were present in this particular file. There were a lot of things I could do to employ that, but here's the thing. In a situation like this, it is not my job to further someone's bias. And that can look like a whole host of different things. Basically, when you're in a position like this, trying to decipher an audio file, you cannot put your own bias into play here. So what can we do? We can get rid of distractions. I can try to get rid of background noise. I can try to isolate the vocal itself through a spectrograph. I can try to amplify certain parts of the spectrum, but even that gets into a hairy situation where I can kind of put my own bias in what a human voice sounds like and amplify the wrong thing to kind of play a narrative that I have in my head about what's going on in this situation, and you don't want to do that. Can you tell I'm just giving you like a tour of the renovation as I'm doing this video? And in this instance, I really tried to talk these people out of doing this. I don't want to get into anything personal. At least in a court case, I'm hired to do something very specific. I'm completely separated from this. Most of the time, that's as far as it goes. But in this instance, this was a personal matter, and I needed to separate that. I didn't want to know anything about the story. I didn't want to get involved on any level beyond what I was being hired to do. And in this instance, I did the best I could, making it more easy to decipher voices. And in this particular instance where I'm hired by individuals who are familiar with those voices or voices allegedly, that they would be able to tell who was there. And they did come to their own conclusions, which was good. I didn't really have to give my opinion in that situation. We don't always have to work with bands. Jeremy, what the heck are you talking about? Why are you making this video? Well, one, I needed to show you the space and all the stuff that we've been doing. We're actually getting pretty close, despite what it looks like as far as construction goes. Something like this job, I was able to do it whether or not I had the space done. Being diversified allows you to have multiple revenue streams, and in the event that your space, you just can't record a band, even if I want to. I can't get anybody in here. This is impossible. It's dangerous. There's nails everywhere. I shouldn't even be walking around, to be honest. But I have a skill set that's diversified, and in the event that somebody needed something done, I could provide that for them. And hopefully that service offered clarity and comfort to those individuals. And ultimately, I think it did. I think those individuals came out with clarity that they didn't have otherwise. And it took somebody with a unique skill set to be able to offer that clarity to them. And hopefully they're better off for it. At least from the interactions that I've had with them, it seems like they are. So it is sad that a service like that is needed, but it is nice to know that a lot of the skill sets required to do something like this, a lot of us already have. Even the software required to do this, a lot of us already have. And if you don't know this or not, maybe audio forensics is something you can get into. I don't claim to be the premier audio forensic. I don't claim to be a master in the field of audio forensics. There are things that I've done for my local area that have, I hope, done some good. This is just another way that I could provide that service. So, and I wish I could think of his name, because I listened to this guy on a podcast a long time ago, an individual who was talking about this at great length that really got me into the field and got me learning and studying about it and things you can do and kind of the philosophies surrounding it. And it was a really interesting field to get into. That's honestly helped me in recording itself, because now I kind of approach recording and how I treat the waveforms, I guess, in a more pure way. Ultimately, I'm trying to let the instrument or the instrumentalist or the vocalist speak for themselves, and everything else being a distraction to pull that away. And being able to look at music like that really changed kind of how I approached mixing, mastering, and even producing, for that matter. Even getting to do this had me reflect on like the different ways you can get your foot in the door as far as the audio industry goes. And sometimes we have such a narrow view of what that is. Producing music, working with bands. This is something completely different that has taught me how to do this better. And it's made me look at a lot of principles in audio a lot differently. And it's had me interact with people a lot differently. And it's honestly taught me a lot about what I already love. So I thought it was an interesting interaction that I had, and I just had to share it. So anyway, I hope this kind of gives you an idea of things you can put into practice if bands are just not working out for you, if the state of the world that we're in right now is kind of putting a damper on things. There are other fields you can get involved with that ultimately feed the passion of however you got into this and will teach you things. Other things that you can get your hands into. The whole world of audio that we fell in love with to begin with, because ultimately learning is the goal. Constant learning. We're always learning. We're always trying to figure out how to do what we do better. So get involved with audio on a lot of different areas, and maybe this is one you didn't know existed. At least it's one I don't see talked about a whole lot. Anyway, the elephant in the room. Yeah, I did this all in the middle of construction because I could. I have been filming during this process. Don't think I've forgotten about you, but what I'm learning as a new YouTuber, it is really hard to film while you're building a studio. Hats off to the guys that can do this well. I have been filming. I am going to put together a video, but it's been a lot of work. And if you're interested in seeing that process, hit the subscribe button. You've kind of seen it in its torn down state. Anyway, guys, I'm Resident Loser Jeremy. I'll see you in the next one. See ya.